Good morning, everybody. It's Conversations with Cobi, where we talk about life, success, and our journeys to happiness. Um, this is an interesting week. I don't really have a kind of funny situation. I just want us to remember as we transgress through this pandemic and everything going on that stop or please don't use the term socially distancing. Because what I see now, especially with the internet, more people are socially connecting. We may be physically distanced, but we're socially together. So please keep that in mind and enjoy as we go. I remember this is Conversations with Cobi. We come on every Wednesday at 8:30. And so I want to bring to you somebody I've known for a long time. She's a fantastic person, an amazing actress and entertainer. And you may have seen her a few times, you may have not. But one of her new forays into her entertainment is she's an Audible book narrator. And I might say she's kind of dope. So please welcome Joniece Abbott-Pratt.
Hey.
Hello. How are you?
I'm really good. How you
Take it.
doing?
I'm amazing. I'm always amazing.
I love what you said about socially connected.
Yes.
It's so true.
Yeah,
It's so
because
true.
we're out in this world and people are using the internet um at a better way at a different way than they did before when they didn't have the
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely.
Some people are actually getting to know their spouse or their children in
Yeah.
this time because they have to spend more time with them. They're not in the rat race. So that's how I feel. Saying
Yeah.
socially distancing, I'm not agreeing with. Um, Physically distancing, yes, but not social.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to so many weddings and retirements and birthday parties via Zoom and or just like hanging out with friends, over the Zoom or FaceTime, the Zoom that I probably wouldn't have been able to do before because I'm like, oh, I can't get to Iowa or wherever the Poconos,
Yeah,
just because of whatever, because of work, all kinds of things. But now you can be there, so it's a gift and a curse.
yeah, and it also it makes you consciously take time to do those things
Mm-hmm.
also. Because I've
Mm-hmm.
probably spoken to more of my fraternity brothers, old friends, than
Yeah,
I've have spoken in a lot of years.
yeah. I know my question to people was like, why weren't we doing this before? Why weren't we like having Zoom dates and FaceTime dates before,
Yeah. And so now I think the world has changed forever and we're really going to motivate and push this thing forward.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be common, you know. But I know one thing that isn't common is you, Miss Joniece Abbott Pratt.
Her.
So so tell me, so
And
like
neither are you.
why thank you. Why thank you. So as we talk about, I want like I know some people may recognize you, some people may not. I know a lot of people in Philadelphia know you. So I want to know like I never got this, so I want to know your story about how you got into acting, being a girl in Philadelphia.
So I was one of those kids, I think I was one of those kids that was always like trying to entertain everybody in the house. I definitely put on a Christmas play.
Hmm.
I was known for my Christmas plays at the house. I would have the dolls, and they would all have their parts. And I think I was 4, going on 5, and my grandmother took me to Philadelphia to be, and to try to take
Hmm.
dance class, and they kicked me out. They told me I was too young. So she then took me to the New Freedom Theater um, in Philly, and I started taking classes there,
Hmm.
and it became my after school summertime outlet. It's where I learned about acting. I learned about theater. Um, you have to forgive the dog if you hear him. And so it's just something that I always stuck with through middle school, through high school, college. I tried to I tried to get away from it, but just to see if I was interested in other things, but I always came right back to theater. So that was the start.
No. So what about it kind of drew you in, continued to draw you in?
I think What about it continued to draw me in? My friends were there, you know. My mother said I had to go. And I think when I look back on it, thank you for asking me that question, because when I look back on it, I remember one of my first moments being selected to, so every end of the season, we would do a moment of sharing. And all of the classes would do a performance, you know, for our parents. And we would do this at Temple on like the big stage, you know. And I remember being asked to be a part of the opening of the show, right? I still remember
Mhm.
my lines. You want to hear?
Yes.
So I ran out on the stage and I said, Theater of the Most High, Theater of the Most High, we need you. And somebody on the God mic said, what is it, Freedom? And I said, the people of the theater have lost their maybe like determination and will to be. And like, please help or something like that. And so he gives me this drama mask to take
Hmm.
back to the right. And so I run off, I come back and I say, they listened, you know, they heard what you said, they listened, and now we have something to show you. I say all that to say it was a moment of um like the spark in me started to grow from that place of, it's okay to share yourself, it's okay to share your light, it's okay to share the beauty and the joy that you have, share that with the world. um Now life asks you to mold that and figure out what spaces to use that in, and you know, you go through what you go through.
Hmm.
So that was, I hope I answered your question. That was like the beginning of what Freedom Theater offered me, what it was showing me about myself, um, and what I could do with my gifts and talents, how I could affect change in the world.
Wow. That's kind of deep. That's interesting because we've talked for years and we've known each other, but I've never heard you talk about that. And you mentioned Freedom Theater. Freedom Theater is a very is is a staple in the arts community in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Um, can you talk about that a little deeper, like that experience there?
um I can. So I was a little girl, right? I was like I was 4.5, 5 when I started there. And what I remember from being a child was just the sense of family, the sense of being taken care of and protected. Um, I remember the founder, Mr. Allen and Mr. Leslie, always being around and telling us stories. Like, I don't know the Goldilocks and the Three Bears the traditional way. I know the
Hmm.
way that she came into the house and they had cornbread and collard greens and chicken, and you know, that's the way he told that story, you know. Or
Hmm.
like, as I got older, they started to remodel, but I remember the building when, you know, there was just this little door that everybody was scared to go in, you know, and we made up all these stories about what was in there. And there was a ghost in the building. And when all it was like a storage closet, you know, but as a kid, it was like, um, so for me, it's, it's, um, it's nostalgic and it's a touchstone for my roots. And one of my friends now, she and I have been friends since we were 5. You know, there she's
Wow.
the longest friendship I've ever had. Um, and just in terms of what that means to the community, I just feel like the same way that it is a place of foundation for me, a place where, you know, my roots started to
Hmm.
grow there. I think that's true for so many different theater artists, musicians, writers, producers, directors, everybody, you know, teachers that came through freedom in some kind of way. And just that as I got older and became more than, you know, an actress, but also became a theater professional,
Hmm.
you hear um, how many other people who you never even considered, you know, or thought of were connected to freedom. And one of the really interesting things that this just shocked me. Uh, Mrs. Joyce's daughter. It's crazy because I still call these people by like, you know. the names that I knew from when I was a kid. But her daughter, Adenrele Ojo, I a friend told me about a month or so ago. He was like, "Oh, do you know Adenrele? Her father started Freedom Theater," and I'm like, "Hold up." So I don't, I'm old. So all these years have gone by, and I know this woman, and I admire her so much as an actress and as an audiobook narrator. I had no idea that we were at Freedom Theater around the same time. That she was the daughter of the man who created this place.
Wow.
Um, so I don't know. I hope I answered your question, but that's what
You
it means to me. So
you did. You definitely did. Yeah, and it says a lot about how it influenced you and how it has impacted you. Then there's
mhm.
also, you can tell how it has helped shape mold you and how you feel. Because I know you as a consummate professional and always very serious about your craft and how you handle it. But I also know that you do film and stage. And which one do you prefer and why? Like what or which one do you like better?
Between film and stage,
Yes.
um, I like them both for different reasons. When I'm on stage, when I'm working on a play,
Mm-hmm.
although I'm not there from the very beginning through the very end, my section um, affords me the opportunity to really be a part of the play development at that stage, right? Because the
Mm-hmm.
play goes through development before it gets to that part. But you have to immediately build a relationship with the person playing your mom, the person playing your sister.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do that in film as well. But the difference with stage, I feel like you're going through this process, through a rehearsal process. You're hanging out with each other. You're doing the show over and over, and each night is different because you're with a different group of people in the audience every night. So the experience, the quality of the experience is different. Where on film or television, um, you're going into somebody else's house, essentially. Well,
Mm-hmm.
in my case anyway, because oftentimes I'll be doing a guest star. So I might be there for a day to like a week, um, maybe on more than one episode, maybe not. But you're
Mm-hmm.
coming into somebody else's home, and um, you hopefully have a really great experience with them and all of that. But it's a bit it's a bit disconnected. Um, but he's so disrespectful. But but my experience with television is that you really get to show your best self, um, because oftentimes with the guest star, they usually have like meatier stuff to do. It's
Right.
like something has happened to you and you're helping to move the story along. um, and so that's really cool too, because you get to like just, you don't really get a chance to like wind up. You got to be ready to go, and that's exciting.
Got you. I can see. I get what you're saying, because in series or serial TVs, you're coming in where everybody has everything set up, all the rapport is built, and you're the new person that shows up, and they already have these routines or all these other things that they do, and you have to operate inside of their uh, paradigm already.
Hmm.
So you have done a lot of stuff, you know, on the stage and the screen. Is there anything that you uh, is your favorite project?
My favorite projects. Um, on stage, one of my favorites was I did this play called "The House That Will Not Stand,"
Mm-hmm.
um, and that was one of my favorites. I mean, every character goes through a transformation, but this particular character's transformation, I played it. So the play is about plissage,
Mm-hmm.
and so that is a practice from New Orleans. Well, maybe not just New Orleans, but it was definitely practiced in New Orleans. And this was right before um, Louisiana was sold to, before the Louisiana Purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about free women of color who are living under this social structure where they could basically be, their mothers would help them create a contract with a wealthy white man or a European man who would afford them a lifestyle, right? Like have a house. Basically, she would be the wife in the city and he would have a white wife out in the country. And so our mother in that play wanted to be, she was a place. The daughters wanted to be, but she was not having it because she's like, it's just another form of slavery. I don't want that for you all. So my character goes through this journey, and what I find really interesting is that there are three daughters. One is very fair skinned, she looks white. One is like the color of butter, and then one is my color, right? So all the daughters came out three colors. And as the darker one, she just goes through being very sheltered and feeling beautiful because she's surrounded by beauty and she sees beauty in the world. She goes outside of the house, or is about to go out of the house, which is like forbidden in this household. And her older sister tells her, you are ugly. People are not going to find you attractive. You're lucky if you find a husband, you know. But then she go to the ball, okay, and get the man that her sister wanted, whatever. So she goes through this journey, and then her mother, comes at her. But you see her then again rebuild herself and understand what her blackness is about. Not just her color, but like what her blackness is about. So that's one of my favorite roles.
No, I get it because from knowing you, I can see you love to change and the essence of who she is and how that tended to blossom. Before I transition, because I do want to ask you, and that was a good kind of segue into, I do really want to talk to you about playing African American female characters and how you approach them. Before I do that, I got to tell you about my favorite role. So I'm a super duper. All my friends know me. Now, I love Marvel movies, and Luke Cage was one of my favorite characters growing up. I read comic books. I'm a straight up nerd, and I appreciate it, and I embrace it, and I own it. But to see you as Mama Cage,
amen,
was it wasn't anything about the role. It was just you as Mama Cage.
I hear you.
I jumped out my seat because I didn't know what was happening, and when it showed up, I said, "Joniece, Mama Cage." Yeah. So excuse me for going through my emotions, but it really was a big deal to me. It was a small role, but for me, Luke Cage was seminal, and I'm pretty sure a lot of African American boys, when they were able to pick up a comic book character and it looked like them, and he was cool, and then for them to take that character and do it so well in live action was very special and personal to me. So to have my friend be a part of that was like a huge deal,
Aww,
So
that's
I appreciate it.
awesome. Yeah, I get that.
So
I learned about Luke Cage from that show. I have another friend who's really interested in like way into the comic stuff, and so he sat me down and said, "You will watch all of these videos. You will learn about Luke Cage and Marvel and all that." So.
oh, okay, because I love it. I was like, never mind. I'll talk hours about Luke Cage and stuff. So tell me how because you choose roles, but you also approach them in a very powerful way. Because we talked about characters and some stuff that we've done, and you always approach it very thoughtfully and ask those questions. So tell me what it's like being an African American female approaching roles, whether it's on stage screen and in books, and how you make that decision and how they work with you.
I mean, I don't really know how to answer that question. I mean, I guess it starts with getting the audition sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it will say, it'll either say she is African American, age range, and a brief little description,
Mm-hmm.
or it'll say something like any ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I just feel like that's just one very surface like idea of the character, right?
Mhm.
And then okay, well, what's the scene about? Who is she in this scene in relationship to these other people, and what is she trying to do? And you know, you just get to the acting stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, ultimately, it's just when you just do the work, right? Like you just
Uh-huh.
read it, you do the work, you try to be as honest and available to the material as you can be.
Mhm.
But if you're asking me, being a black woman and working in this industry, that's
Somewhat.
a okay. That's a little different than so. I mean, I think the conversation is universal. You know, it's like um, I think that I think that we are still trying to carve out a space where we feel seen, we feel
Mhm.
like our stories are being told. Um, and you are always going to have successes. You're always going to have success stories. Um, at, you know, I mean, we can think of all the actresses out there that are working, that are producing television shows, that are just breaking through, and that's
Mhm.
really exciting because those are there have been trailblazers, and there will always be trailblazers. Um, but we want more. You know, we
Yeah.
don't. It's just like, you know, there doesn't have to be one TV show starring a black woman. There can be 1,000, right, or whatever. But like, it's a constant battle and a constant fight. But I think inside of that, we always want to celebrate and acknowledge those who are doing the work and making way for others to do the work, which I think is very important. I
Mhm.
think it's so important,
And it's
whatever
interesting.
level you're at, to
Yeah.
keep bringing your sisters to the table.
And what's interesting, because I really want to get into your narration before I close out, but the understanding that black women aren't a monolith either,
Mm. Hmm.
and so that's why I kind of asked you that question, because after working with you and knowing you, you're very thoughtful about your characters and what they meant, or what's the intention, or who they are as you go into creating them. And so also presenting that, like you talked about the Passe Blanc sister, and then also my mocha dark chocolate sister, and not
Mm.
just in shades of colors, but shades of attitudes, beliefs, and temperaments that
Mm.
need to be displayed also, just like with all people. um, so now there's something interesting which I really love, and I really want you, and I'm gonna let you really, I hope you can dig into this. But talk to me about how you pivoted into being a fantastic narrator for Audible audiobooks.
How did I pivot? I was like, it just happened. Like it was just a miracle. And you know, I'm in therapy, so my therapist was like, it didn't just happen. Tell me the steps. And so I think the steps are, oh, I was just at a place where I was just like, um, I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna get out
Mhm.
here and try all of it. And I did. And the thing that I enjoyed the most, and I think the thing that I felt most, the room I felt most welcome in, and I say that with love. It's not like I was excluded from any other rooms, but I felt most welcome in this space of narrating. Um, so a couple things happened. I practiced, right? Like I
Mhm.
got coaches. I practiced, um, and because of that, I found people who were always like, "I think you're really good. Work on this. Work on that." I'm gonna help you put your demo together. Um, I'm gonna send you to four of my friends. Send your demo to them, and or just join this organization. So I got a lot of help and a lot of support early on that allowed me to meet a lot of people in the community. And so slowly, I got a book um, with Audible. It was my first book was Inventing Victoria, which I was just crazy about. I thought it was so good. And then I mean, I thought my performance was good, but I was really talking about her book. Like I thought it was just fabulous. And then from there, you know, you get one and you tell people, okay, I got a book out there, y'all check it out. And then you slowly get another and another. And now I'm at a point where, you know, initially I was just excited to be exploring this other part of the industry, where now I'm trying to carve out a space in a specific genre that I didn't even know existed. And it's like this whole sci-fi fantasy black girl magic realm that is just so exciting to me for lots of reasons. So
Afrofuturism.
maybe, baby, I'm learning. Listen, I'm
Oh,
old,
okay.
so these I ain't hip to all these new terms, you know. But yes, Afrofuturism, this sound good. Yeah, yeah, because I I didn't get introduced to Octavia Butler and Tana Marie Due until I was out of college. You know, I was in my 20s, and
Uh-huh.
but if I in high school to be able to pick up some of the books that I've read, it's just incredible. So like there's Legend Born by Tracy Dion and Ray
Mm-hmm.
Bear by Jordan Ifueko, and then so those are in that, you know, Afrofuturistic
Mm-hmm.
black girl magic science fiction fantasy world. But then there's like Tiffany D. Jackson, who wrote Grown, which is about a young girl going through oh gosh, I don't even know how to, just being manipulated by someone in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun embodying these women. And so for me, just to tie it back to your other question about being a black woman in this industry, I think that my charge and I feel like my responsibility is to use my voice to tell those stories.
Awesome.
Because those are the stories that I'm excited about. And like, you know, no disrespect to anything else or anybody else's story, but like there's certain things I don't want to, there's certain stories I don't really want to tell anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's all I'm
It,
gonna say about that.
well, look, we got to get ready to go. I truly appreciate you and thank you for this. But I wanted to apologize to something um to you, and I didn't realize it till probably a decade later.
What?
Um,
What you do?
remember when we put together choices
Yeah,
and you
the
wrote the
second time.
story? Hold up, let me finish. Let me finish. And you wrote this. We wrote the story. We went to shoot it and it didn't go too well. Then we rewrote it a little bit, and you said to me, "This sound like some man stuff, like
Mm,
it was changed," and I
wow,
didn't get it at the time. And
wow.
so after watching it
How did I
again, but
say it? I said it sounded like some man stuff. That's what I
no,
said.
that's not the words that you use, and I doubt that you would use those words in that chain of or in that combination. But I was talking to my sister the other day, and she was talking about misogyny and
Mm,
how it is so common that
mm,
um, it is so common that it becomes natural or invisible. And as I went back and reflected on that, I
mm,
realized how we changed the intent of the story and the meaning behind the
mm,
story by inserting um, what we thought a bunch of guys thought was the story, and not really hearing or listening to you and letting your
mm.
voice show and telling that story. So I wanted to
Yeah, because then
say
I asked you, I said, take my name off of that.
you probably
Because y'all,
did.
you could have wrote your own story. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I didn't write it, but I'm
Mike,
not throwing him under. I'm not throwing Mike under the. I
I
mean,
ain't
I'm
throwing
not throwing
nobody
my
in. We
friend.
was young. We was
Yeah,
young.
and but I say is that I didn't get it at the time, and I understand now, and I
Well, I
deeply.
appreciate that, Jacoby. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you've always been a friend. You've always had a hustler spirit, though. You ain't never sit still too long, and I truly, truly appreciate you. And hopefully you'll come back. You got to send me some more of those books so I can get some.
Okay.
But you're always a friend to the show. You take it easy, and
All right.
everybody. This is Conversations with Cobi. We'll see you next Wednesday.